All right, guys, we're doing another deep dive video today, and we're talking about a fruity note today. Are you into fruity fragrances? But this one's a popular fruity note, and it's one of my favorite fruits. If you guys didn't know, I'm a big fan of pineapple. Eating pineapples, I like them sweet tart, not super ripe. And I guess I'm a fan of Aventus or Aventus style fragrances. And so I've compiled a list of around 42 fragrances here, all featuring pineapple. And I wanted to make sure that these fragrances are still available to purchase or are easy to purchase or buy. And I've tagged them, timestamp tagged them with the chapters in this video. So let me know if you're a fan of pineapple and fragrances. Let me know let me know what are your favorite pineapple fragrances. Add a comment below. And if you're into watching deep dive videos on specific notes or ingredients or styles and perfumers and classic genres and things like that, all over the place, there's a whole playlist of deep dive videos on fragrances, and you can put it on and watch them back to back. There's hours and hours, probably days and weeks of content in regards to deep dive videos, so you can just have it playing in the background for a long time. So yes, today it's all about pineapple. This is sort of continuing off of the 100 fragrances, tropical fragrances video I did recently. If you haven't caught that video, please go catch that. And also just recently, like last weekend, I did a video on salty fragrances. So if you like these kind of themes, please go catch those videos and watch them, because they can kind of be sort of connected. Although if you click on the playlist, it should be all back to back anyway. So this video will be at the top and the previous videos will be after them. But the most recent video is the most latest video I've aired, and then the older ones are back there. All right, so let's get started with pineapple. But before I do, as I said, please make sure to write down your favorite pineapple fragrances. Is it Aventus? Is it Hacivat? What is it? You'll find those fragrances here. In fact, I've got 4 different varieties of Aventus, 3 different varieties of Hacivat. And it's interesting, I've got 4 different fruity fragrances from the house of Kajal that all rely on pineapple. In fact, one of my favorite pineapple fragrances is by Kajal, and I'll get to it and I'll let you guys know. All right, so first fragrance we're going to talk about is Rise. This is the first fragrance we're going to talk about is AKRO's Rise. This is Olivier Cresp's brand, although he's just a perfumer. I believe it's run by his daughter and her partner or husband or boyfriend or something. So Rise is a tropical offering. So it not only has pineapple, it has coconut. So it's got a kind of a beachy, fruity, a little bit of a cocktaily, maybe pina colada kind of vibe. It acts a bit simplistic. I feel like AKRO fragrances are on the simplistic side. At least to me, they are. So there's room to play with these fragrances. AKRO fragrances are easy to layer with, I think. Not the extracts that are in the darker bottles or the non-clear bottles. The clear bottles, I think, are, easy to layer with. So I feel like this is simplistic enough that you can add something to it, like maybe add something coconutty to it to amp up the coconut, or maybe amp up the pineapple where you add something a bit more pineapple-y. But in the end, it's kind of easy to wear. It's easy breezy, fruity, tropical cocktail, a little bit of sunscreeny and things like that. And I think if you're looking for something not super complex, you'll be happy with Rise from the house of AKRO. Let me know if you're a fan of that. Add a comment below. Let's move on to an indie niche house. It's Alloy Studio. It's IDYLLIC or IDYLLIC. So are you guys familiar with this house? Let me know if you are, or if you're not, if you haven't heard about the house. It does use pineapple. It's fruity, but also green and very spicy, a little ambery in the base. So I feel like everything is mixed together perfectly. And in the end, it has this kind of glossy pineapple fruity edge, a little bit like a cocktail, but it takes on a greener characteristic, almost like this kind of damp, humid, green, lush forest where it's bursting with a lot of fruits and things like that. So that's a very intense experience. It's super potent, by the way. Really loud, but it's also quite green and fruity and tropical, but also very dark. There's a darkness beneath it. So I feel like when you're digging into this jungle, this lush green jungle, hot and humid, you might want to be careful to go too deep, because there are some intense stuff that might happen. Almost kind of giving me the idea of the new Christopher Nolan film. Kind of like there was that one scene where the little girl was in kind of like a jungle, not a jungle, but it's more like a pine tree, kind of a forest. And so you basically she got scared and ran away, and then brought out these soldiers, and it's giving me that kind of a vibe. But it's super tropical, very fruity, green and lush and vegetal, and also spicy and intense, but there's a darkness beneath it all. So let's move on to a cheapie. It's Alvarez Gomez Golf Club. You guys familiar with this house? This is a Spanish house. They're known for Aqua Colonia Concentrada. It's kind of like Spain's version of 4711, which I absolutely love. It's a more lemony take on something like 4711. But this is kind of like an inspired fragrance that is very Aventus-like. It's super fresh, cheap and fruit. Well, I should say cheap. It's more inexpensive, but it's super fruity. To me, it smells more like not intense, but Cedrat Boisé from Mancera, because it's got a very pulpy fruitiness, whereas Aventus and Hacivat are super screechy and strong, unless with Aventus you get the fruity batch. But this is super fruity. It's fun and playful, very fresh, easy to wear, and it could be like a dumb reach fragrance. It's super inexpensive. I paid like $15 for this at one of the, kind of stores like Marshall's or TJ Maxx. And I rarely see this brand here. And when like several years ago, like 15 years ago, when I was in Spain, I bought a bunch of the Agua Colonia Concentrada from Alvarez Gomez. But I just wanted to buy it because it's cheap. Plus it's, very easy to wear, fresh, juicy, fruity. And it reminds me more of Cedrat Boisé rather than Aventus. It doesn't have that woody screechiness. This is just all pulpy and juicy and fruity. And that's kind of what I like about it. So if you like a cheap take on something like Cedrat Boisé with an Aventus-like quality, then definitely try this one called Golf Club from Alvarez Gomez. Now we're going to one of the earlier pineapple fragrances that I was into. This is Animale from the house of Animale. So I think this came out in 96. Here's the bottle. It's a very classic fragrance. So it came out between Angel and Amen. No, I think this came out in 94, not 96, because Angel came out in 92, and I thought it came out just in between Angel and Amen. So was this inspired by Angel, and then was Amen inspired by this? I don't know, but it does have qualities like that. It's fruity with pineapple. It's very syrupy, and it's also got that earthy patchouli. And I feel like what you're getting here with Animale is something that Mugler gave us for the guys back in the 2000s when they were launching Pure Malt and Pure Havana and things like that. So the patchouli is pretty intense. The fruitiness is there. It's quite syrupy, fruity, and also pulpy, juicy. And you've got earthy notes, woods, and spices mixed in together as well. Maybe a little bit of booziness too, now that I think about it. But I feel like it reminds me a little bit of Pure Malt because of the booziness. And the fact that it's syrupy, maybe a little bit of pure Havana, because that's got that honeyed syrupiness in that one. But it's a pretty solid offering. And that's ANIMALE. I recently bought a more recent fragrance from the house. It was a dud. I got rid of it. And usually I don't get rid of fragrances, but I didn't like it at all. But, you know, I'm not saying the brand is all that great anymore, but that particular fragrance I think is quite awesome. In fact, I remember those fragrances selling at places like Macy's in the mid-90s, which is kind of, I mean, the distribution for it was quite awesome, I guess. That's why I remember this this packaging. All right, let's move on to the house of BDK. This is Oud Paradisio. I'm highlighting it here as an oud that features a fruitiness, but I'm just giving you a heads up on this one. There is something cologne-like that appears on my skin. And I mentioned that it might be because of that pineapple note that they have in here. And I should say also, it's not a super duper pineapple forward fragrance. I'm highlighting it here in this video just so you know you can get an oudy style fragrance with this kind of fruitiness of the pineapple. But again, it's not about the pineapple. The pineapple is there, but there is a slight cologne-like effect that happens on my skin. But it's so super concentrated, very, very long lasting. And I feel like the pineapple adds a freshness and a brightness to a more darker take on a fragrance, I think. So that's Oud Paradisio. This is from the house of BDK, one of their latest offerings. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. Up next, going to the house of BLNDRGRPHY. This is SANTAL Painkiller. So, unfortunately, this is my least favorite BLNDRGRPHY. I'm highlighting it for you guys because it seems to be popular, and I don't know, something about this doesn't work. And also, I'm a big fan of the perfumer that did it, Margot Lepage-Goran. I don't know, something about this just doesn't click with me, but some people like it. It's a sandalwood that's super creamy, and it's mixed in with a fruitiness, more tart fruity rather than sweet fruity. And it's a contrast with the sandalwood and the pineapple, where I think it works fine, but the fragrance just doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. But what are you guys' thoughts on this fragrance compared to something like Vanilla Mudslide, which is my favorite from the house? I absolutely love it. And for a while, it was hard to keep in stock, but now you can get it. But SANTAL Painkiller, what do you guys think? I guess what I really wanted, it's almost like the sandalwood and the pineapple are crossing each other out, and I'm not getting a dominant either. So it's not super duper creamy, smooth, and milky. And it's also not super duper fruity. And I either wanted to go in that sandalwood direction to give me that creaminess, or into that fruitiness direction of the pineapple. So it doesn't go there. So I feel like it's a bit of a letdown for me. But maybe you're a fan of it. Thoughts on SANTAL Painkiller from the house of BLNDRGRPHY? Let me know. Add a comment below. Now, let's move on to the 4 different Aventuses. We're starting off with ABSOLU Aventus first. So, when I first started doing videos in 2012, Aventus was, I don't know, I guess it had just launched. It was 2 years prior that it had launched. So it came out in 2010. And Aventus was all the rage. And when I went to Neiman Marcus, the Creed counter, nobody knew me. Nobody, they didn't know who I was or what I did. But I got pretty much really shitty treatment there. And then it would be like, if you talk to them, it was like Aventus is like the king. It's like, there's nothing like Aventus that's ever made before. And a lot of the associates from Neiman Marcus would say Aventus is the biggest fragrance in all of Neiman Marcus. This was like, 10, 12, 13 years ago. And I was like, okay, it's good. It's good. It's not like a masterpiece or anything. I think Portrait of a Lady, which had come out the same year as Aventus, is more of a masterpiece. But okay, I say, yeah, okay. So Absolute Aventus, on the other hand, is a more luxurious take on the fragrance. And it's much intense, but it's not, once again, it's not super fruity. And I kind of prefer pineapple, knowing that it has pineapple, to have fruitiness. I mean, I feel like the pineapple pushes the fragrance along, but it doesn't interfere. It doesn't get in the way. And you've got woods and citruses and mossy notes and, you know, perhaps aromatics in here to play a little bit more than the pineapple. That's kind of why I like Cedrat Boisé, even though it's not pineapple, it has that idea and it has that pulpy fruitiness that I really enjoy. But one thing that I think is great with Aventus and the entire collection, except for one of them, and I'll tell you which one, I feel like it smells great on skin. I think on skin with a warm body and if it's projecting off of the body, you get whiffs of it, it really does smell great. I think that's kind of what I think this fragrance does. And that's why people smell it off of other people. And I think that's why it's become so popular. Otherwise, I think it's a very simplistic formula. And it's known for the pineapple, but it's not really pineapple, is it? But what do you guys think of the Aventus, Absolute Aventus? Do you think it's super intense? It's not super fruity. I feel like they've intensified, like the birch note. It's not even smoky, but it's definitely a darker woods experience. And the fruitiness for me brightens things up, so it's not that bright. It also, I should say, Absolute Aventus kind of goes more into a little bit of a Hacivat direction. It's a bit more screechy, like sharp and metallic, kind of woody. But I think for me, more than the pineapple in Aventus, it's about how it smells off of your skin. And does it attract people to smell you and, you know, compliment you and things like that? Because I personally think it smells great off of somebody once it's mixed with their chemistry. And then if it projects, you get these really amazing whiffs. So there's something probably in the formula that does that. There's the types of musks in there. And how much moss are they using, or oak moss they're using in this? Because it's considered a Chypre style, super modern take on a Chypre, not anything like a 70s Chypre fragrance. But I enjoy it. I don't think it's considered a masterpiece for me. Then we've got the original in my 120 ml bottle here. Now, I also have bought is it a 250? I have a 500 ml bottle of Aventus. I just love that bottle. But this is my 120 ml. I think it's kind of losing its edge a little bit. It's been with me since like 2016. So yeah, I mean, for me, this is not the fruitier batch. One of the things that I used to hear all the time earlier on is, which is your batch? Which batch do you have? Which batch is your favorite? That was a whole thing happening for a while. Is that still around? I don't even know, because I don't hang around a lot on Facebook, because it was a lot happening in Facebook groups. But it's a great fragrance. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece. Once again, it's great off of the skin, projecting off of the skin, because that's the way the fragrance was created. But for me, if I'm comparing the original with the Absolu, the original is a bit more fruity to me. And of course, it's lighter, it's thinner, it's airier, and it's not as dense as the Absolu. But I enjoy the fragrance, but I guess I could see why it became so popular. It has that for it. I think it's the musks that are in there. And then we have Aventus Cologne. Before the rise of Aventus, was pineapple used a lot in fragrances? Anybody know what classic fragrances used pineapple? So Aventus cologne, to me, is definitely a brighter, thinner take on the Aventus DNA. It's fresher, breezier, lighter. And again, once again, it's not super fruity. Sorry. These boxes with their little pieces of paper that come in don't ever go back in there perfectly. But yeah, Aventus cologne. For a while, I was digging Aventus cologne a little bit more. But still, there's something in there. I think it's the musks that are in here that do something. It does something. I think, personally, off of the skin, I think it's a compliment magnet. At least when I would smell this off of somebody, I would say, you smell great. Because it's just, there's something in there in the DNA that I feel like is awesome. But for me, I wish it was a little bit fruitier. I wish it was a little bit more pulpier, like Xerjoff Boisé. And I think Xerjoff Boisé doesn't use pineapple, even though it has that similarity. But I think it's a decent offering, and it makes sense that people really ended up clicking with this fragrance and making it one of the top offerings out there. But for me, I think if I was going to say what was the best fragrance that came out in 2010, I would go with Portrait of a Lady, because I think that's a masterpiece. This is just an easy to wear fragrance, super easy to wear, nothing complex about it. And last but not least, we've got Aventus for Her. And I remember when this was launching at the Neiman Marcus, this was like, oh my God, there's a new fragrance coming. Aventus is the biggest fragrance. Now we're going to have a woman's version of it. So it has pineapple, but this is more like a tropical cocktail. It's taken into a lot more fruity direction with other fruits. And I think the pineapple is there, but it's not the star. And the same thing with the men's versions. It's mostly about the pineapple fruits. There's no other fruits competing with it except for the citruses that are in there. Maybe there's a few other lighter fruits, but the pineapple is more standout in the men's. But still, I feel like it's not about the pineapple here. The pineapple takes a back seat, even though this fragrance the Aventus for Her is much more fruity. It's also very floral. I'm picking up a lot of fruits and flowers in this. So it's a fruity floral cocktail, I think. But once again, it's very fresh. I don't know how successful it is. I don't know how successful it became. Do women click with something like this? I don't know. Maybe women like it. And also, I don't think it's super feminine, even though it has more, it has the floral touches. I think a man can totally pull this off. But it's super fresh, just like a fruity cocktail, and with a lot of flowers. Imagine being in Hawaii with a lei on, with all the flower essence on, and then you're sipping on some kind of a fruity cocktail, maybe a pina colada or something. So that's Aventus for Her. Enough with the Aventus fragrance, but let me know if you're a fan of this particular DNA. Why do you like it? Why do you hate it? Add a comment below. Let's move on to something a lot more complex, a lot more intense. This is Sex and the Sea from the house of Francesca Bianchi. Now, totally different fragrance. It's beachy, it's tropical, it's also super ambery, and it also has some animalics in the mix. But when you smell this, when you put your nose to it, there's a major thickness here. It's super duper thick and dense. But it's keeping the Francesca Bianchi DNA, but I wouldn't say this is one of the fragrances of hers that has her fragrance DNA 100%. Because I feel like I think there's also something honeyed beeswaxy in here. So it creates this kind of a syrupy, sweet, fruity, maybe a little bit salty, beachy experience, and keeping a little bit of that DNA that Francesca Bianchi is known for, but super concentrated, super intense, very, very long-lasting fragrance for something that features pineapple. The pineapple is there, but it's quite macerated and mixed, so it's standing out lightly, but it doesn't super duper, stand out as a full-on in-your-face pineapple fragrance. So that is Sex and the Sea from the house of Francesca Bianchi. Let me know if you're a fan. So up next, I've got two fragrances from the house of FRAPIN. We've got 1270 and 1270 Extreme. We'll talk about the 1270 first. That's the original. 1270 Extreme came out much later. 1270 to me is super duper fruity. It's fresh and dried fruity and a little bit nutty and a bit boozy. You can smell the pineapple in here for sure. And I feel like the pineapple is the fresh variety. There's other fruity notes that are like the dried fruity variety fruitiness. Did I spray the right one? Yeah, it's 1270 I sprayed. So with the 1270 Extreme, I feel like the fragrance goes a lot more fresh. Whereas to me, 1270 is more holidays. 1270 Extreme is more fruity, fresh. Even though it's called Extreme, it doesn't really take the fragrance into an extreme territory, an extreme direction. It's just freshened up with similar notes and same perfumer. But FRAPIN's 1270 is quite popular. If you like it's almost like a fruitcakey kind of experience. So that's why I feel like I get a holiday vibe with this. But it's a great scent. It's just between the original and the Extreme. The Extreme, to me, I think you can wear in a lot of hotter climates. And for me, I felt like if they're calling this Extreme and it takes the fragrance into a fresh direction, it confuses the wearer, I think. But 1270 Extreme is fruitier. I'm sorry, fresher is what I should say. It's still the same amount of fruitiness. Similar idea. It does get boozy, but not as boozy as the original, I think. The original, I think, is a lot boozier. There's a crispness about the Extreme, and I feel like there's crisp apples in the mix. So it adds that layer of crisp, crunch, juicy, fruity apple kind of a thing. That's why I feel like it's easier to wear when it's warmer out. But both of them are fun, I think. FRAPIN is a very underrated house. If you guys don't know FRAPIN, it's a cognac maker in France. And they also have fragrances. So I've actually been to the city of Cognac. One winter I went quite a long time ago. It was like, 11, 12 years ago. And it's a beautiful little village-like city. But the day I arrived was so foggy. It was really cool, kind of very mysterious and dark and chilly and wet. It was a great little trip. But yeah, that is FRAPIN 1270 Extreme. We're talking about Frederic Mall's Music for a While. Now, for me, I'm highlighting it here for you guys. This fragrance to me is one of the most confusing fragrances. I don't know why it's confusing. Well, no, I know why it's confusing, but perhaps other people don't think that. I almost feel like the amount of lavender they're using in here doesn't make sense to mix it with the note of pineapple. I almost feel like it's a bit of a clash. So this is a Carlos Bonayem creation. It's more of a love it or hate it. Sometimes I enjoy it because I love a really strong, potent lavender. And since pineapple is one of my favorite fruits, I wanted to enjoy this one but I feel like the lavender gets in the way. Because lavender is very, very distinct smell. It's almost soapy, it's almost medicinal, and you know, it's herbal, it's aromatic. But for me, in this case here, it comes off very strong and medicinal, almost like cleaning solution, but not quite there. And then you've got the kind of syrupy pineapple in here that confuses me. That's just me. But in the end, once you get past that, I think it's a nicely done fragrance, because Carlos Bonayem does some great work with fragrances. But it's not one of my all-time favorites. And if you're looking for something fruity against something very aromatic, because on this, the lavender seems like it's in the oily variety, so I almost feel like it's lavender oil that's in here, and that's how it comes off. It's super potent. It's very strong fragrance. I think this is one of the original bottles that I got way back when it first launched. It still smells great today. In fact, it smells a lot deeper today. Okay, up next, we're going to the house of Gallagher fragrances. This is Fine Apple. So pineapple and apple together, it does work. I'm just hoping this fragrance is still in production. I did not double check. I know for a fact that the bottle is probably changed. This is super fruity, super juicy, crisp, and pulpy, but super fresh. It's also very fun and playful. I mean, when you're smelling this, you literally can smell the texture. It's got this very pulpy texture. In fact, this is kind of almost like a shampoo as well. If you like the idea of a shampoo fragrance, that's something you should check out, because it's fruity enough and that texture is kind of pulpy, creamy. So it's almost like you've got this, you know, stuff on, and you're mixing it with your hands, and the texture is kind of creamy, pulpy, and you're going to put it on your hair and start lathering. But it's tart. It's a kind of a more tart take on a fragrance, which is kind of really awesome, because I enjoy tart fragrances. I'm hoping it's still in production. I should have double checked, but this is Gallagher Fragrances Fine Apple. All right, next up, we're going to the house of Histoire de Parfum. Histoire de Parfums, it's 1804. Are you guys familiar with this one? So 1804 is a fruity, woody, kind of almost like ambery kind of vanillic fragrance. Up top, it's quite fresh, and it has a lot of pineapple. So it's got that fruity freshness and juicy, sweet tart touch. And then it gets deeper and deeper, where you'll run into some notes like, I think there's some patchouli here, there's some vanilla, there's some spices along the way, woods, and some amber in the base. It's not the idea of Aventus, even though it's featuring a lot of pineapple, but it's its own creation, its own unique experience. And if you're a lover of pineapple, definitely check this one out. But just keep in mind, it has some deeper notes. It's not a very fresh fragrance. It's not super duper gourmand leaning either, if at all, but it has some gourmandesque touches. So that's 1804 from the house of Histoire de Parfum. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Then we're going to the house of Noya. This is Midnight Melody. Who's a fan of Noya? We had Noya in our mystery box twice. This fragrance was in the second feature of Noya fragrances. This is pineapple. This is woods. It's a little bit powdery. There's a familiar smell about it, so it's easy to wear. It smells great off skin. It has intensity. It smells a little bit barbershoppy, which I don't get why. I almost feel like there's something lavender-like in here, but it's created very intense. It's beefy, and it smells pretty darn good. And for sure, something about it is familiar. I almost feel like there's tonka in here and lavender. Where am I getting those? That's why it reminds me of a barbershop style. But it's quite good. It's fruity, it's woody, it's powdery, it's spicy and intense. So that is Midnight Melody from the House of Noya. From the House of Noya. Is that how you say it? All right, up next, going to the House of Jusbox. It's Carioca Heart. This is really, really great. It's pineapple and mango, and also warm spices and amber. Super amazing. Great trail also. It's very tropical, but there's also warm spices. So I think what Julian Rasconnais has done is, even though I find the fruits to be fresh, but it's inspired by Brazil and Brazilian music. And so, you know, Brazil is always very hot and tropical. So those warm spices that he's added in here, I think there's cinnamon, warms up the fragrance. And, you know, it's a clash of freshness of the fruits and the warmth of the air and things like that. But it has great trail, great sillage. I love that about this. Julian created that fragrance, or actually I should say that fragrance launched when we started working on Jusbox's 54. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well because it has a pina colada note in it. But let's finish Carioca Heart here. But yeah, to me, I think Carioca Heart is got similarities to his appreciation for Middle Eastern style fragrances, because it does have a base of something very Middle Eastern to me. I feel like Jusbox's 54 is a departure of his favorite types of fragrances, I think. But yeah, the Carioca Heart is awesome. Let me know if you're familiar with it. And let's dig into 54 a little bit as well. I didn't list it on my list, but since it's on the counter here, I thought, oh, we have pina colada as a note here in 54, and it does get fruity up top. But what I like about this fragrance is also the sillage, just like Carioca Heart. It's very sillage forward. So yeah, the pineapple with coconut up top. There's also rum here. It's boozy. And the patchouli is in the base with vanilla and tobacco and sandalwood. Along the way, there's chocolate, cardamom, saffron. It's super awesome. So it's creamy because of the coconut. It's fruity because of the pina colada. And then there's also davana here that's giving a fruity edge as well. So the combination of the pina colada with the davana. But super awesome, really awesome trail. And a great fragrance that Julian created here. It's so super awesome. If you haven't tried it, please do. It's not super duper about pineapple, but just wanted to highlight it because it does feature the pina colada note there. So we're moving on to the house of Kajal next. And we've got 4 back-to-back fragrances from the house. First of which is Icon. So I do have to say, Kajal does a lot of fruity fragrances, a lot. Like recently, I think the first time I experienced Kajal's fruity fragrances was Dahab. I think they just launched a flanker of Dahab. Then it was Lamar, and Lamar became a favorite of mine from the house. In fact, we featured Lamar in the second Scent Club kit of the second Scent Club kit, and I absolutely loved it. I love Lamar because to me, it's almost like a evolution or more of an intense take on Dolce & Gabbana's Pineapple, which is discontinued. So if you like pineapple, you can't find a bottle of it, try Lamar, although I wouldn't say it's as simple as Pineapple from Dolce & Gabbana, but if you're missing it and you can appreciate some complexity, try Lamar. But let's go back to Icon. Icon, I think, is fruity and fresh. Not as fresh as something like Aventus, but it has a bit of a green freshness to it. And very juicy, not super sweet, and of course, tart. It's a pretty darn good fragrance here. I love it. I absolutely love this fragrance. And I love some of the fruity fragrances that Kajal launches. Really awesome. Let me know if you're a fan of Icon from the house of Kajal. There's also some red berries in there, which I should say. I had to pause the video there for a second to go check and see if I had my bottle of Dolce & Gabbana pineapple, but I don't see it anymore. I do have one bottle, but I don't know where I've stored it away. I think it was because it got discontinued. I filed it away. But if you were a person that enjoyed that fragrance, let me know. Have you compared it to Lamar by Kajal? Let me know that as well. But the next fragrance, it's not Lamar, it's Kolada. Kolada by the house of Kajal. And this is my favorite fragrance that I'm going to show you today from, favorite bottle that I'm going to show you today from the house of Kajal. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bottle. Love that. And Kolada, I think they're playing off of Pina Colada with a K. Is it usually with a K? I don't think so. It's with a C. Could be with a K somewhere else. This is creamy for sure. It's fruity and creamy. The pineapple is definitely more prominent here than it is in Icon, but it sure has that kind of milky creaminess that I enjoy and appreciate in some fragrances. It's also tart, not super sweet, but I feel like that creaminess, the coconutty creaminess, is softening up the tartness. Quite awesome. I love that. It's super juicy. But again, my favorite from Kajal is Lamar. I absolutely love the way this fragrance smells. It does remind me of Dolce & Gabbana pineapple, but it's much more complex. And it's also not identical, but there's a reminder. Because there's red berries mixed in with the pineapple, so it's fruity, it's super fruity. It's also juicy, it's also tart, it's sweet, and there's a lot going on here. Very complex, it's ambery in the dry down, there's some spices along the way. This is a Mark Buxton creation. He did a great job on this one, really love it. But whereas Dolce & Gabbana's pineapple is a lot more simplistic, it's super juicy and not super tart. It was a bit more on the sweet side. It did eventually warm up and became a little ambery, but it had a thinness about it. It wasn't super dense. Here, it is much more dense. It's also much more complex. There's a lot more things going on. Whereas that, like I said, it was much more simplistic. Sadly, it's discontinued. It was between the three fruit collection fragrances from Dolce & Gabbana. I think the pineapple was the most popular. It was always people requesting it, asking where they can find it. Because it was not easily distributed. I mean, it was not widely distributed, I should say. I know Harrods sold it for a while, and that's where I ordered my first bottle. And I think this was during the height of the pandemic. I would go to the Dolce & Gabbana store and ask them if they have any, and they wouldn't have any. I would have some clients that wanted the bottles, so I would go ask them, and sometimes they would get them in. So it was, I've turned so many people onto that pineapple fragrance. But last fragrance from Kajal is Ruby. Who's a fan of the brand? Let me know. Add a comment below. This is more berries. It's definitely very red berry forward, but definitely there's a juicy tartness with pineapple in here as well. I think there's a little bit of a cherry, strawberry, fruit punch type thing happening here. Super juicy, but not super tart. Beneath it all, there's some woods, like a very Middle Eastern style woody kind of, maybe a little bit of saffron amber thing happening in the base. For me, it would be Lamar, Kolada, Icon, then Ruby. But I feel like Kolada and Icon are kind of, I can replace one over the other. But Ruby is last, Lamar is first. Okay, that's the collection of Kajal fragrances. Now we're talking about a cheapie from the house of Le Monde Gourmand. This is Rum Tropique. These actually are always at like discount stores like Marshall's and TJ Maxx. So you can find them for fairly inexpensive, but I think the 30 ml bottles usually sell for around $30. So this is a pineapple, tropical, boozy, cocktail, rummy kind of experience. The Le Monde Gourmand fragrances are also very simplistic. They're not super complex because they are also super inexpensive. So they're easier to wear. They have all kinds of things happening with their fragrance, like multiple varieties. Like they just launched the tomato leaf one. I've been wanting to buy it. I missed out on the deal with the candle. I just want to order the bottle because I love tomato leaf and fragrances. But they do have some good ones here and there. And this is definitely one of the better ones, Rum Tropique. There's also a bit of warmth here, kind of like the Carioca Heart. I feel like there's a little bit of warmth, something spicy warm, but a bit more non-distinct rather than something that stands out as far as the spice goes. All right, so that's Rum Tropique from the house of Le Monde Gourmand. All right, we're talking about Lorenzo Pazzaglia next. It's Summer Hammer. Yeah, this is definitely one of the popular ones from this house. And you're given the pina colada treatment here. It's lots of pineapple and lots of coconut. So it's creamy, it's juicy, fruity, and super duper intense. Very fresh, but it's an intense fragrance. It's just got a lot of freshness. But this is quite intense for a fresh fragrance. I think the fragrances of this house are very, very intense and long-lasting. I think they go up to like 45% concentration or 40. I can't remember the exact amount that they use. I'm not saying this one is that concentration, but some of their fragrances do go up that high. But this is also very fun and tropical and beachy and fruity, playful, not a serious fragrance. And that's what I think are great about fruity fragrances. Well, in this case, it's not serious. In something like Aventus, maybe a bit more serious, but still the fact that it has fruits in it, it makes the fragrance a lot more playful. Now we've got one more fragrance from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia. It's Tropicalis Karma. Are you guys a fan of this house? This is a super tropical fruity offering. This is also coming off with a lot of red fruits and tropical fruits. This smells like a fruit punch, a tropical fruit punch, maybe a little bit of like bubblegum. It's a fun and very, very playful offering from the house, I think. I enjoy fragrances like this. Fruity fragrances are not my most favorite, but I love pineapple and fragrances because it's one of my favorite fruits. So if I had to pick my favorite fruits, top 4 would be pineapple, cherries, watermelon, apples, raspberries, blackberries maybe, blueberries also. But this is like just a big bowl of fruits exploded. It's so super fruity. Yum. So that's Tropicalis Karma from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia. Let me know if you're familiar with this. Next is my favorite next is my favorite pineapple fragrance. This is from the house of Loumari. It's Porthole. You guys a fan? This was also featured in a Scent Club kit of mine. Why is it not focusing? So the brand had different bottles a couple years ago. They've rebranded, and also recently they launched Radon 4, which I really love. It's a Julian Rascanet creation. But this to me is one of the best marine fragrances that doesn't smell marine. So I feel like you're given the marine treatment with the salt that's in here. It's super salty. So that kind of tones down the fact that there's caramel in here and a lot of juicy pineapple. So it's slightly gourmand, it's fruity, it's salty with a kind of a sea breezy marine edge, but it doesn't get fishy, which I can't stand when it does. This is also a very young perfumer at Flair. I think she recently resigned or left from Flair because she was pregnant and having a baby, but it's Camille Chamardin. I think she's done such a great job on this fragrance. I just love this. Really, really love the fragrance. As soon as it came out, before this came out, I was a big fan of Almeria, one of their previous fragrances. And when this came out, I was like, this is my number one now. It's so good. And it's pineapple. Doesn't smell like Aventus. It smells great. It's juicy. It's long lasting. It's fruity. It's tropical, a little gourmand, salty. Wonderful offering. So that's Loumari's Porthole. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. Unfortunately, this one disappoints a little bit. This is Montal's Oud Saparat. Let me know if you guys are a fan of this. I think for me, this is ruined by the type of oud that they're using in here. What do you guys think? I want to enjoy the pineapple, but the oud is kind of cutting through and ruining it for me, which is a bummer. But in the end, it's pineapple, it's juicy, a bit fleshy, but that oud is, kind of dark and woody and a little mysterious, a little smoky, and it's a bit sour as well. I think that's the part that's kind of ruining it for me. Either the oud needs to be a bit more intensified or the pineapple. So for example, honey oud from Montal, it's more oud. The honey just balances it out and softens it up. And I love it there. Here, the pineapple is not doing that, unfortunately. Anyway, Oud Saparat, let me know if you're a fan. But if I had to pick this over honey oud, I would much rather go with honey oud. Up next, we've got Nikolai Parfumer Creator. It's Pavlova. This has grown on me quite a bit. It was my second favorite next to Saint Honoré in the trio of gourmand fragrances that Nikolai launched. I am now really digging this. It's pineapple dessert. It's fresh. It's fruity. It's tropical. It's a bit glazed, syrupy, honeyed, sweet, vanillic. And I'm not the expert when it comes to Pavlova, but this makes me want to have Pavlova, whatever it tastes like, with pineapple. For me, when I was younger, I was making pineapple upside down cakes. I loved making them. Really did. I just love turning that cake over and you see that pineapple all caramelized. I just wish that, well, there is one fragrance here that's coming up that kind of smells like a pineapple upside down cake. This doesn't. This is a lot fresher. And I feel like when you do a pineapple upside down cake, it gets caramelized, the fruitiness, the sugar part of it kind of gets more caramelly. But here it's fresher, but it's really great. I think this is also somewhat kind of bordering Lamar as well, minus the red fruits that are also in Lamar. So once again, Lamar I think is super complex. This one's a bit fresher, but it's super delicious. It's grown on me quite a bit. So that is Pavlova from the house of Nikolai Perfumer Creator, or just Parfums of Nikolai. And next we've got Nishane's Hacivat. Yes, we have Hacivat. This is, yeah, I think it's a screechy take on a less fruity. Well, it's fruity. It's quite fruity, but the types of notes that they're using in here creates a kind of a cold iciness, screechy, metallic, steel-like effect. But you've got pineapple, and this is a type of pineapple that's not ripened. There's no sweetness here whatsoever. None whatsoever. You also have the grapefruit. You've got patchouli here. You've got oak moss or mossy notes. So it's another Chypre style fragrance, just like Aventus. But this is a lot more robust and intense. And to me, it comes off very ice cold. And because of this, I feel like it's creating that kind of ice cold effect, because it acts very metallic and screechy. So that is Hacivat. Then we've got, what do we got next? Then we've got Hacivat Oud. So this is a Dominique Gropion creation, if you guys didn't know. And they've given Hacivat the Oud treatment. So where Oud Sapara did not work for me, it's working perfectly fine for me here. You still have a very similar effect to the original Aventus. I'm sorry, Aventus. The original Hacivat. But you also pick up the oud. It's not a super animalic oud, but it does have some slight funk there. But it's wrapped around the screechy effect that Hacivat is providing. And I don't get that screechiness from the original Aventus. I got it from the Absolu. Of course, not from the Cologne. This is also getting funkier as it settles. So the oud kind of becomes more of a funky, slight animalic take on the Aventus. So since we know that Dominique Gropion has created so many Desert Gems fragrances for the house of Frederic Malle, he did the Night. This is, I think, somewhere in between the Night and Hope. Hope is not super animalic. The Night is, but this is not super animalic. It's also not not animalic at all. There's some funk here, but it works really great with the Hacivat DNA. Quite good. And then we've got Hacivat X. Now, is this done by Julien Rasconet? I think they were working with IFF perfumers for a bit, and that's why these are done by, I think this might be Julien. If it's not Julien, it's probably Dominique Gropion. But to me, I'm not a big fan of the Hacivat X. I prefer the original, but I do enjoy the Hacivat Oud. I feel like it's a bit of a departure from Hacivat. It's a bit less fruity. It's a bit more green. Maybe there's also like amped up citruses in this in comparison to the fruitiness that I enjoy. What do you guys think? Which is your favorite? Between Hacivat and Hacivat X, which do you prefer? I think this is okay. Since it's not, I like the originality of the original. Is that a way to say it? The original Hacivat. And since it's reminding me of the original, but it's not fully going there, then I'm thinking, I don't like it as much. It could grow on me, but I definitely do prefer Hacivat over Hacivat X. What do you guys think? Which do you prefer? Hacivat, Hacivat Oud, or Hacivat X? Or Aventus, Aventus Absolu Aventus, or Aventus Cologne? Let me know. So I did lie. I do have one more Nishane, and I'm not too familiar with it, but it does feature pineapple. This is Karago's. Nothing to do with Hacivat. For me, Karago's is like a classic fragrance that's meshed with a modern fragrance. There's a lot of red berries here. There's also the pineapple, and something beneath it has a slight DNA of something Kouros-like Kouros light, I should say, not super Kouros animalic, but there's a little bit of funk in here, and there's a lot of patchouli in this as well. But when I test it out, it gives me that kind of a vibe. So imagine taking Kouros and giving it the fruity treatment and toning it down. Does that make sense to you guys? That's what I get with Karago's. It's an unusual fragrance, and I didn't like it at all when it first came out. It's grown on me quite a bit. In fact, it's the first time I'm smelling it that I'm really enjoying it. And it hasn't reminded me of Kouros in the past, but today it somehow clicked. Just thought, okay, it's giving me like a light Kouros DNA with the fruitiness and the patchouli. What do you guys think? Karago's from Nishane. So there's something, yeah, vintage or classic about that. That's kind of fun. And I didn't think about it before. All right, next going to the house of Parle-MOI de Parfum. This is Mile High, 38. So this is pineapple mixed with Immortelle. It's been a while since I've pulled this. I really enjoy this fragrance. It was my favorite for a while from this house. So it's a juicy, sweet tart pineapple mixed in with that Immortelle that creates that kind of caramel brown sugar effect. So it sweetens things up. But it's a nice mix of kind of spicy Immortelle and fruity pineapple. It smells wonderful. Who's a fan? This brand doesn't get much love. They've got some great fragrances. It's a brand founded by the son or sons of Michel Almerac. And this, along with Wake Up World, are my two favorites from the house. But if you're into pineapple, something different than what you've experienced, try this. Again, this is featuring pineapple with Immortelle. The Immortelle is a very, I think it's somewhat of a polarizing note. Sometimes people say it smells like curry. It's kind of very dry and autumnal. You bring out brown sugar and caramel nuances from it. So it's kind of sweetening up this pineapple. Imagine if a tropical country had an autumn like California would have in the autumn months, because the pineapple is fruity and very tropical, and then you have the Immortelle, which to me reminds me of a California autumn weather, warm and sunny, dry and amber glow kind of a thing, and then cool and breezy at night. So that's Mile High from Parle-MOI de Parfum. And then we've got Père Noir's Anello. Who's a fan of Père Noir? Let me know. My scent strips have all gotten damaged for some reason. Sorry about that. Look at that. So Anello from the house of, that's a Swiss house of Père Noir. It's fruity, it's juicy. I think it's got pineapple and mango, but I think this is also somewhere in between Aventus and Tigar. So if you like both, I would say go for Anello. It's super concentrated and intense. It's zesty, zingy, because there's definitely that zesty, zingy vibe that Tigar has. But this is pineapple, it's sweet tart, more on the tart side, a little tropical, juicy, It's so good. And it's also very, very concentrated. So that is Anello. What do you guys think? It's a bit shampoo-like as well, I think, because of the tropical touch, but it smells wonderful. So next, we're going to the House of Plume Impression. This is Pop Heart. This is also a fragrance created by Mark Buxton. And I mentioned that Lamar from Kajal is created by Mark Buxton. Let's see if they have any similarities. I don't think they do, but they're both fruity. No. Maybe a little bit. Let's see. I'm testing out both of them. No. To me, the Lamar is much more tart, but I think there might be similar ideas. No, the Lamar is much more pineapple forward. I think this Pop Heart is fruity, but it's more like a fruit compote, and the fruits are not standing out. Like, not one fruit is leading. It's a blend of fruits, but it's juicy. It's slightly tropical. It's fun and playful. But yeah, there's similarities, but they're definitely not identical. But similar ideas for sure, I think. I think what perfumers do is tweak things around, and you might find something that has similarities, but they go in different directions. All right, we've got Pop Heart. That was the last fragrance we did. We smelled from Plume Impression. Then now we've got two very designer fragrances from the house of Ralph Lauren. This is Polo 67, and it's in the Eau de Parfum. Very mass market, very masculine fragrances. It's aromatic, it's fruity. I think the brief was make something that's a bit Aventus-like, but don't make a copy of Aventus. But in the end, it doesn't smell like Aventus, but it's kind of barbershop-y a little bit because it has lavender or something very aromatic. It's kind of an easier to wear barbershop because it has that fruitiness in there with the pineapple. It's a bit on the tart side. It's also got a little bit of an ice-cold, screechy effect here. Between the two that I'm going to talk about, the Extreme and this, I much prefer this, even though this is not my all-time favorite fragrance. I'm highlighting this pineapple for you guys here in this series. I don't have the original. I just have the EDP and the EDP Extreme. This Extreme is, to me, it's gone a little bit more mass market for me. Although the whole collection is very mass market. But it's a little bit more intense than the original. I thought I didn't care for this one compared to the original. I think they're both about equal. This one actually also has a slight bit of creamy coconutty touch. I don't think there's coconut in the mix, but it's giving me that kind of a vibe. Are you guys a fan of this collection? Let me know. And is it just 3 different versions? Is it the EDT and the EDP and the EDP Extreme? Or are there more? I can't remember. But that's Ralph Lauren Polo 67 EDP and Ralph Lauren Polo 67 EDP Extreme. Now we're going to the house of Rirana. This is Coconut Nanas. It's right there. Coconut Nanas. Who's a fan of this fragrance? Coconut Nanas is simply a pina colada come to life. And it's a fine example of the pina colada. For me, I like a pina colada when the pineapple juice is stronger. And this, to me, acts like that. The coconutty creaminess is not as much, but it's still smooth and creamy. And you get the tart, sweet effect from the pineapple. And this smells super fine, super intense, really awesome, juicy, fruity. pineapple with that creamy coconut milk or coconut juice in there. It's really good. Really, really awesome. Very realistic pina colada effect with more amped up pineapple, as I was saying. So that is Rirana's Coconut Nanas. All right, we've got 4 more to go. No, 5 more to go. Up next, going to the house of Rosendo Matu. This is number 8. So this is Fruity Amber Exotic Musk. This is like, when I first smelled this, whoa, I was like caught off guard a little bit. I thought it was way too fruity. Like, it's almost like how you take a magnifying glass and you magnify things. I felt like the fruits were just like super magnified. I was like, oh my God, this is way too fruity. But it grew on me quite a bit. But it's a lot of red fruits with tropical fruits and of course pineapple. It's so juicy. It is really juicy. Like, imagine you've just prepped all the fruits in a big bowl and you're macerating them and all the juice is coming out. And there's a lot of fruit fragrance in the area that you're working on. And that's what it reminds me of. It's just an overdose of fruits, but a lot of red fruits, tropical fruits, tart fruits, pineapple, super juicy, very, very fresh. All right, that is Rosendo Matu number 8. Let me know if you're a fan of that. Up next, we've got a fragrance from a house called Sasva. This is Shanti from a collection called Le Notti di Goa. I think that's how you say it. This gives me Carioca heart vibes a little bit, just to give you a heads up. I'm not saying they're identical. I think this has a little bit of an oudi touch. It's quite Middle Eastern. It's also got warm spices, and I feel like there's for sure pineapple, but there might even be mango. So it's certainly a twist on something like Carioca heart. Very tropical, much warmer than, I think much warmer than Carioca heart, although I felt like Carioca heart was super warm to begin with. But this is feeling like it's much more potent and intense, fruity. It's spicy, it's warm, it's ambery, and slight bit Middle Eastern oudi twist. So this is, it's an eau de parfum. Who's a fan or familiar with this house? Let me know, add a comment below. There's also a little bit of a bubblegum effect. Brings back childhood memories. All right, this is the fragrance that reminds me of pineapple upside down cake. This is IDYLLIC Parfum's Nota Sugar. So the pineapple in this comes off super warm. Also, there's a lot of like caramelized butteriness in this. So instantly it reminds me of like I just baked it and I turned it upside down and the pineapple is kind of like melting and flaming a little bit inside. And, you can see the steam rising and the fragrance is super intense. It's fruity, but it's warmed up and buttery and sweet and caramelized. You get that here quite a bit. It's very, very buttery, caramelly, fruity, sweet. This is like a super duper gourmand, like literally, like it has a major butter caramel effect happening in this. Are you guys a fan of this? Let me know, add a comment below. So that is IDYLLIC Parfum's Nota Sugar. And then we've got this fragrance from Voyager called Yellow. So yellow is highlighting yellow fruits. So there's all kinds of yellow fruits in here, including the pineapple. So there's mango in this. It's very tropical. But beneath it all, there's something smoky and woody. And green also. green and peppery. It's almost like you've got the mango skin along with the mango, and of course a lot of juicy pineapple. So it's a little bit tart. For sure it's fruity and tropical. And green. This is a bit more indie. So that is yellow from the house of Voyager. Last but not least, it is Accento from the house of Xerjoff. There we go. That's the last fragrance. So this is not Accento overdose. This is Accento. It's very fresh, fruity. This is very pineapple forward. Also a little bit hyacinth. And I think that's where we get the purple from, because it's hyacinth. So it's kind of green floral, but super fruity and very fresh. It's not, this is not a, it's not a, like a ripened pineapple. It's definitely a fresh, tart pineapple, a little bit green leaning pineapple. So it adds a very fresh layer to the mix. Whereas with the Nota sugar from IDYLLIC was very ripe and sweet pineapple. Not much tartness left there because they took it into the gourmand direction. This is going to a green floral, green fresh direction to me. I do prefer Accento overdose much more than Accento personally, but Accento overdose, they say fruits. Maybe there's a slight bit of pineapple in that mix, but they don't credit it. So I've featured Accento here, and maybe you like it more than I do. But for me, if I had to pick between Accento and Accento overdose, I much prefer Accento overdose. It's also a lot stronger. It also goes into more of a green direction. It has lily of the valley and green notes, and it just says fruits. So maybe there's some pineapple in the mix there with other fruits. But again, between the two, I prefer Accento overdose. But maybe you're a fan of Accento. Let me know. Add a comment below. And that's the last fragrance for you guys. Last pineapple fragrances. Are you a fan of pineapple and fragrances? Let me know. Add a comment below. Are there any other deep dive videos you guys want me to do? I know summer's coming to an end. And I've got a, at least one, if not two, long form deep dive videos coming before I leave the country for about a month and a half. So stay tuned for those. They will be summer themed because, yeah, they'll be summer themed until I'm gone. And then I'll come back and start working on some more autumn themed videos. But yeah, there's a few more that are coming down the line. So we'll be able to do that. But if there's any deep dive videos that you want to see, let me know. Add a comment below so I can do them before I leave, if I have the time, that is. But let me know your thoughts on the pineapple fragrances. Is there something missing? I know I don't have every pineapple fragrance in the world, but maybe there's something really good that I haven't, picked up or gotten yet, and that you'd like me to talk about. So add that comment and let me find out. And also, as I said, there are other deep dive videos, especially the tropical one that I just did. That's 100 fragrances. And then just before this, I did the salt fragrances video, all kind of like in the same genre-ish, tropical, marine and fruity tropical ideas. So if you want to catch those deep dive videos, I'll have them in the linked in the info box. But thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please interact with this video, like it, share it, add a comment, interact with a few of the other commenters on the video. And of course, please subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. See you guys later. Bye-bye.